Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to Rediscovering Your Passion and Purpose with Patty. I am your host, Patty Stuhlen, and I am the Chief Pathfinder of Pathways with Patty. And it has been a long time coming, but I am so excited and thrilled for our guest that we have here today. My incredible guest today is Amy Fuentes. She will be sharing with us how to look at life just a bit differently. After successfully overcoming numerous life hardships that almost crushed her, she noticed one common theme. We are only one decision away from a totally different life. She is the author of Words of Wisdom, What You Need to Know on the Road of Your Life's Journey, and shares her aha moments on YouTube and Facebook. Recently inducted into Who's Who in America for her contributions to humanity, Amy has also appeared on ABC, WTOP, numerous podcasts, and in corporate investment times. She is passionate about helping people reimagine their decisions so they can find their voice, change their story, and become their own hero by shifting their mindset. Amy, I am thrilled to have you here today. How are you doing today?
I am fantabulous. How are you today?
Fantabulous as well. I know that we've both been looking forward to this conversation, and because of different things happening, it didn't happen until now. But you know what? The most important thing is that it's happening now.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Well, you know, one of the things when we initially talked that I really appreciated was the fact of you going out and letting people know that, yes, we've got those hardships, we've got those challenges, we have those obstacles in our life because that is a part of life. And as many of you in the audience right now, you know, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on one of the podcast formats, you know that the difference here with the wonderful guests that we have is each one of them, and Amy's going to be sharing here in just a second, that they didn't let those challenges and obstacles stop them from continuing to move forward. And so, Amy, with that, please share with us your story of where you've been and how you got to where you are today.
Well, that's pretty much a long story because I've been on this planet for a couple of decades here. But there were some pivotal moments, right? There were some moments that I endured that could have gone a totally different way. And to be honest, they really did start out in a different way. And it wasn't until I hit the point where enough was enough. I tell people I got to the point where I was sitting, I had that ice cream on the kitchen floor moment, where you're sitting on the floor with a spoon and a bucket of ice cream and you're just eating your problems away. And as you know, they never.
And those problems are still there.
They're still at the end of the bucket. The problem's still there. Your pants are just a little tighter.
That's right.
So, years ago, we had a financial curveball that got thrown at my family where overnight, our income was cut in half. And I was a stay-at-home mom. My husband traveled a lot. Nothing that we could have foreseen or planned for, except for the fact that back then we never had this thing called an emergency fund.
Yes.
Or a savings account. Go figure.
What's that?
Yeah. So when that happened, it was devastating. It was like someone ripped the carpet out from under us. And there were many nights I cried myself to sleep, not sure how the heck I was going to get this to all work out. And the hardest part is when something like this happens and you have little ones. And I had 2 little girls at the time. And, when they say, well, do we have enough so that I can go to dance? Or am I going to be able to have a birthday party this year? I mean, having those kinds of conversations with your kids is just soul crushing.
Yes.
And they were not comfortable conversations. We did manage a way to get them into the dance class. We did manage a way to do some sort of celebration, maybe not with 20 friends going
Mm-hmm.
to a bounce house or someplace, but we did celebrate their special day. And what I found out from that terrible, horrible, challenging, difficult situation that I was in was that there's a lot of beauty that comes out of our roughest times.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
call them refiners fire because
Mm.
we are in it, right, Patty? We
Oh,
are
yes.
in that burning flame. And until we finally say, you know what, I've peeled off every article of clothing, there is nothing left, I'm done. We put a stake in the sand and say, enough is enough, stand up, brush ourselves off, stop blaming ourselves, others, the economy, the society, my parents, my education. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop blaming everyone. It doesn't matter how you got here. You got here.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. So I picked myself up. I dusted myself off. It took me almost a decade to right the ship. And along the way, I made it my mission to learn more about my money and
Mm.
to not only do that, but stop the cycle of this curveball hitting generation after generation.
Right.
Because I remember vividly it happening to my parents, and now history was repeating itself with me, and it was ending, right? I
Good for you.
wasn't going to let it go on. So fast forward over 20 years, and my kids have that emergency fund. They have a savings account, go figure.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest just bought her first home, which was just as much as my last home.
Wow.
So I was able to get through all of that. And what I've learned is that we can't dictate the cards we're being dealt. We can't control a lot of the situations that get thrown at us,
Mm-hmm.
but we can certainly decide how we're going to handle them. And
Yes.
I sat on the floor, I cried, I had a pity party, I said it's not fair, I said why me, I said all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got up and I did what I needed. They didn't have the stuff they have today, so I did an Excel spreadsheet, and everybody had to put in I had a shoe box because I couldn't afford like a nice fancy box, a shoe box. Everybody put in the receipt. Even if you paid cash for something, you had to write it on a piece of paper and put it in the box. And I tracked every, not dollar, not dime, every penny. And I
Yeah.
gave every
Wow.
penny a job. And I figured my stuff out.
Wow.
And it's not it's more overwhelming when you don't know what to do. But then when you finally decide you're going to figure it out and you're going to take a stab at it, and even if it's not perfect and even if it's not right, it's at least one step away from where you are, has really helped. Because as we all know, that wasn't the last curveball that got thrown at me.
No, no, you get that one taken care of, and whoop, here comes the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Because I tell you what, I don't know how old your listeners are, but God loving, you get to the point in life, Patty, where you, like, for me, I raised my kids. They got through college, and then I had this double whammy, literally, like a hit, like a double, what's it called? Double jab in the face or
Mm-hmm.
in the gut
Mm-hmm.
with these little things called menopause and empty nest.
Oh, yes. Fun times.
Well, and I don't think
Not.
anybody talks about empty nest. A lot of people are talking more about menopause, right? Because a lot of light has been shined on it, from people that are very, like Suzanne Summers, and there's been a lot of attention being put on menopause. But there are a lot of things that aren't told about menopause.
Oh, no, it's still very taboo, I think.
Well, and
Sadly,
I think
sadly.
everybody thinks it's not only taboo, but it's when the women go crazy is what everybody's
Yes.
told, right?
Yes. Yes.
And lo and behold, as women, we really feel like that, right?
Yes.
Because
Uh-huh.
things aren't going the way that they always, I mean, I led my life a certain way, and now I can't do it anymore. If I have more than 3 things on my to-do list, I have an anxiety attack and I have to go back to bed. So, getting adjusted to a new normal again, at the same time as that pesky little empty nest, that I will tell you, as hard as that financial time was, it was easier than managing the transition of menopause and empty nest, because there's a boatload of information out there. And not only that, but I felt like it or not, I was in good company, right? There's a lot of people that have financial woes or don't know what they're doing with their money. So I felt like there was a lot of resources, but when it came to all the things that I was thinking and feeling and not understanding, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally, there really isn't anybody talking about it.
No, they're not. And and you may be getting to this, and I might be skipping ahead, but one of the very memorable things that I remember in our initial talk with one another is you bringing up of during that time of not knowing about how you wanted your eggs.
Yes,
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. This was a huge epiphany. This is where my aha moment started. All of these things that I realized I thought, or I didn't know, that I thought I knew, or so anyway, well, there's 2 stories. The first story is that I was turning 50, and my husband said to me, "This is a milestone, Amy. How do you want to celebrate?" And I said, I don't know. And he goes, "Do you want to go out for dinner?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Do you want to go on a trip?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Do you want to have a party?" And now I'm irritated, right, Patty? I'm like, what part of I don't know do you not know or understand? I don't know. And my friends would say, what do you like to do in your spare time? I don't know. I don't know. Because I used to do all these things with my family or work, and I didn't really cultivate true hobbies, right? That I really did. And if I did, they weren't hobbies that I would do with other people. And so I was like, I don't know. And it was in those moments of trying to figure out what I liked and what I wanted, because for the first time, people were actually asking me on what I like, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? What do the kids want to do? And this was the first time they were really looking like, what do you want
What
to
does
do?
Amy want to do?
I don't know. I haven't had to make a decision like that for myself in decades. And it was a light bulb moment, because I realized that, like you said, I didn't know how I liked my eggs. And if you've ever seen the movie Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, she is, I'll give a quick synopsis. She is a serial engager, meaning she gets engaged over and over. And every time she walks down the aisle, she bolts. She doesn't actually get married. And Richard Gere is a journalist, and he is come to cover her yet, whatever, 4th or 5th attempt to go down the aisle.
The latest wedding.
Yeah, the latest wedding, right? To the latest guy. And through interviewing her and her past fiancés, he realized that each one said that she liked her eggs a different way. And getting to know Julia, he said, "Girl, you don't even know how you like your eggs." And it was that moment in my life that I realized I didn't know how I like my eggs, right? I know that my kids like them scrambled with cheese. I know that when I was a kid, I liked them scrambled with ketchup. No judging, ketchup.
No, same here. Same here.
Eggs with ketchup. I know my mom likes eggs Benedict with hollandaise sauce on it. I had no idea how I like my eggs, you guys. And it was a humbling and a big hit over the head to go on a journey to discover what do I want? What do I like? How do I like my life? What do I want my life to look like? And
And
it
right
was,
there, that's a good I mean, that's a good analogy though for what you were saying before this story is not only is the menopause a big thing, but now you've got the empty nester thing happening. And with both of those together, you are at a point where you don't know how I like my eggs. And that's just one of many things that you either start creating self-doubt or selfless worth or all of those things. Up to that point, you could be very confident about who you are and what you do and what you're about and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden you're just like, I don't know anymore.
well, and not only that, but I knew it was coming, right? When
Oh, we
they're
all know.
born, if we do our job well, they eventually fly out of the nest, but we know it's coming. And I nurtured my relationship with my husband because I had heard too many stories about how you get to the point of them leaving and you look at your husband, you're like, who are you? I don't like you. I don't know you. And so
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of work on that relationship through the years. I did a lot of relationship work with my kids to make sure that I wasn't, no offense, please, if you're like this is not a dig or a judgment, but I was not a helicopter parent or an overbearing parent. I was a very caring and supportive parent. And as they got older, and those of you who have adult children know you have to kind of reel it back a little bit the older they get. I worked hard, and that's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what, Betty? I have this funny story. Okay. So when my daughter, my oldest, was little, I'll never forget this. We had a pool in our backyard, and the rule was that the people that had their kids come over, the parent always had to stay because I'm
Yeah.
not taking that liability.
Mm-hmm.
So the mom of a friend of hers came over. They're playing in the pool, and at the end, after a couple hours, they were getting ready to leave, and I was like, "Yeah, Morgan needs to take a shower. I need to clip her nails." And the woman was like, "You need to do what?" And I was like, "Clip her nails." And she goes, "Why can she not clip her own nails?" And it's because she could, but I didn't know that she had gotten to the age or the ability to cut her nails because it was just habit, right?
Uh-huh.
You come out, you eventually get to the point where you don't have to wash their bodies. You have to make sure the soap is out of their hair, but those are sharp. She could hurt herself. And so I didn't even realize she was capable of doing that. And as they get older, they make you very well aware what they're capable of
Oh,
doing
yes.
and
Very
telling you
vocal
to back
about
up.
that, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've nurtured all those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Even the ones with my siblings, right? All of them, friends, but myself, never nurtured that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of lost me in the process.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is a number one hardship for women in general is because we're so used to giving and taking care of everybody else that in the process, because really that's what generations have done. And that is what we have been taught, whether verbally or we've just seen it happen in media or in our own lives. And so we think and believe that that's exactly what's supposed to happen, not realizing that that doesn't have to be your reality.
No,
And
but
then
if
what
you think it and believe it, it is your
it is
reality.
your reality. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yes. Because it
Right.
keeps getting reinforced by everything and everybody.
Right. And you start looking for that reinforcement. And I'm going to be honest, Patty, if you're looking for that, you're going to find it. If you're
Oh,
looking to
yes.
be irritated, if you're looking to be insulted, if you're looking, you're going to find it. But the
Yes.
flip is also true. If you decide to look for really nice people, people who smile when they see you or hold a door open, if you look for those people, you'll find them.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. And it isn't always easy, but you have to go with that intention. People all the time is, well, Patty, you're always talking about PMA, positive mental attitude. Well, there's really bad stuff that happens in the world and there's things that suck. And it's like, Yes, you are absolutely right. When I watched my motorhome burn to the ground when I was on my way going to the Sierras, and I was like 2 miles from the campground after like 8 hours of trying to get there with all these other things that happened, I could have very easily had a massive pity party of the world and decided, I'm not ever camping again. I'm never going to get another RV. I'm going to go home and I'm going to sulk. No, I stayed there with my family, staying in with my mom and dad, making the best of the situation, creating memories with my family that was there. And you know what? I took every lesson that came out of that horrible adventure. I learned the lessons that I could learn from it, and I continued to move forward. And that's what it's about. Because we can all sit there and just keep having a pity party forever. But when you have people that are willing to help you and extending their hand to help you, if you're not willing to take that hand, don't continue to wonder why is nobody helping me?
Right. Well, you have to help yourself first.
That's exactly right.
Right. You know, they say the oxygen mask, you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you help someone else.
Yes.
And so you gotta, you know, there are people in my life that have medical issues, and I wish they would pay more attention to their lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't do it for them.
No.
And as much as I wish it, and as much as I attempt to help them, if they're not of the mindset that they want to do something about it, if they haven't reached rock bottom and made that one decision to do something, it's not going to happen.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things that I love about you sharing your story, is that you're very honest about, you take full responsibility for the challenges and the obstacles that you and your family got yourselves into. With that being said, though, you just did not stay there forever, finishing that 1 gallon of ice cream and then starting on the second gallon and the third and the fourth. You decided, okay, it's time to take action. What are we going to do to get out of this and make this situation work for us? And that's exactly what you did. And that's what I think we want the audience to remember and to know, that, as I keep saying, life has its challenges and obstacles. That is life. It's what we do with them that determines what direction our life is going to move in. And with this program, with your story and all the others, Amy, I'm hoping and praying that people are seeing that there, number one, are people out there that are willing to help you. Number two, there's always a better way if you're willing to look for it and work for it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'd like people to know is that where you are, if you are in a difficult season, I know there's different seasons in our lives, right? We
Mm-hmm.
all have those really highs, and we have kind of the status quo, and some of us have those low moments as well. And if you're in a bad chapter or a not so comfortable season in life, just know that you have the ability to change it. You have
Mm-hmm.
the ability to turn the page and write a new chapter.
Yes.
Right? What happened to you yesterday doesn't dictate what's going to happen to you tomorrow.
Yep.
And taking that and empowering yourself, because so often, like me, sitting on the floor, you know, why did this happen to me? Was it because my parents didn't educate me? Was it the fact that we, you know, decided to go on vacation and didn't have the money and put it on credit cards? Was it like what? I'm pointing
Mm-hmm.
exterior.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you turn around, you can just say, yep, 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 yep. All
Own
right.
it.
Own it. Did it. Sucks. All right. Moving forward, when you know better, you do better.
Better. Yes.
So just, when you look at it, you know, some people may be, whether it's in their health, which have had health issues, whether it's in finances, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in your career, looking to start a new business, done it all, created a product for the women's restroom when I had no idea about manufacturing. So I've been there, I've done all of those things. But when you're where you're at now and where you want to be, that divide looks massive, like insurmountable. How the heck am I going to go from 100 pounds overweight to being in a bikini contest?
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, it's not going to happen overnight. But
Mm-hmm.
with each baby, teeny tiny tips toe of a step, you get one little bit away from where you are and one little bit closer. So if you are looking more towards the future about all the things you don't have, instead be proud and be grateful for what you have, so that with each step you can say, oh look, I'm an inch and a half away from where I was yesterday. Not like I have 500 miles ahead. I'm an inch and a half away from where I was yesterday. And the next day, oh, an inch and 3/4 away from where I was yesterday. Like it just the babyest steps, because the whole tortoise and the hare thing, the tortoise eventually makes it to the finish line, you guys. So,
well, it's like I've said on this program before, the saying is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And it's very easy for us to look at that elephant and get overwhelmed by, how am I supposed to consume that thing? And it's exactly what you just said. It's taking those little bites, because every single bite, every little tiny itsy bitsy step does make a difference. And sometimes that teeny little bitty step is just getting out of bed.
yes. Yes, I tell people all the time, when I teach on gratitude, and people are like, Amy, life sucks. Like, I've gotten every curveball thrown at me. And I was like, are you on a breathing machine? Oh, you're not. Can you see me? Oh, you can. Do you have clothes on? Oh, you do. There are always things. And when I wake up, you guys, I start my morning every morning thinking of 3 things that I'm grateful for. But you and I had this conversation, I think, Patty, that it doesn't change your mindset to just think of the things that you're grateful for. What people forget to tell you about gratitude is that it helps to realize and be aware and acknowledge the things that you have in your life, like the fact that you can see and hear and breathe and get up and put clothes on and have running water, and think of the people who don't have those things. But it's when you actually feel gratitude that things start to shift exponentially.
Yes.
And the way I feel gratitude is, I explain that a really easy one to do is to be grateful for your eyesight, right? And so when I'm laying in bed and my eyes are closed and I'm like not really wanting to get up, but I'm coming up out of sleep and I'm all snuggled into bed, and I'm thinking, all right, let's say I'm thankful for my eyesight. With my eyes closed, I think, what would life be like if I could never see another sunset? I couldn't see the faces of the people I love. And it literally, you guys, makes me choke up, because it almost brings me to tears to think if I could never see again, right?
Yes.
And then as I'm in that moment, I think, I don't need to be sad, because in a moment I get to open my eyes and I don't need to live that life. And there is a flood of emotion, and that emotion is gratitude. And when you can feel that emotion and start your day with that, that is what you put out into the world, and that is what comes back. And so knowing that, I do that every morning, and I express to people that it doesn't need to be, oh, I made X amount of money, or I lost X amount of weight, or I got engaged, or I'm pregnant with my first child. Like, it doesn't need to be those are awesome, and those are great, but finding gratitude in the little moments that we experience every day is really where the gratitude is at.
Oh yeah, most definitely. In my acronym, when I ask people, are you living your best dash? And the acronym being daring to achieve a successful and happy life. And in my talks, I go through and are you daring to believe and daring to achieve and all of that sort of stuff. And then, but with achieve, of course, when I get to achieve and I talk about success in the word dash, people immediately start thinking, oh, the trophies, the plaques, the making the most money, living in the best house, driving the fanciest car. It has nothing to do with any of that. achieving is what are you passionate about? What is it that you want to do in your life? Maybe it's planting a garden and you achieve planting a garden, or that day you decide you're going to achieve sitting on your front porch and watch the sunrise or sunset with a cup of your tea. And success could be, you know, just finally you finish this book you always wanted to read and you finally finished it. That could be success. Or as we just said, getting out of bed. And when it comes to being happy, with your intention and your attitude, one of the things that I encourage people when I go out and talk to them is I say, when you wake up in the morning and you really don't want to get out of bed and you get into the bathroom, I dare you, I challenge you to look at yourself in the mirror and say, HAPPY. And then I dare you not to smile or laugh at yourself when you say that, because when you do that, you are flipping a switch in your brain that changes your intention for the rest of your day. And when you go out with that happy intention, it's the ripple effect. It's tossing that pebble into that little speck of water. The ripples go out on what you start and what you'll never know what you do for the rest of the day to the people you say, well, hi, how are you? Or any of those things. And what did it cost you? A split second of your time of your day. That was it.
Yeah.
It can change everything for you. Once again, it's about being grateful. I got up, I'm outside, I'm saying hello to people. I can walk, I can talk, I can do all these things. I'm thankful and I'm grateful for each and every one of those things. And then you just start finding yourself, whoa, I'm feeling so much better.
Yeah.
It's a natural aphrodisiac, so to speak.
It is because it's a serotonin. It's the feel good chemicals that get released in our bodies when we do those things, when we look for the things that bring us joy. I tell people, one of the things I encourage people to do is do a bliss list. And if you've never done one, it's interesting. When I was in college, this is way before like personal growth and all that stuff was so big. And my mom isn't like a hippie or woo woo, but I'll never forget. I was in my dorm room and I was like literally belly aching. Oh, my life is miserable. I overslept. I had no clean clothes. I ran to class. I was late. They gave a pop quiz. I wasn't ready. I failed it. I came home. I didn't have any food. Just verbal diarrhea, right? And my mom was so kind. She listened really patiently and she said, Amy, I want you to take out a piece of paper. And I said, okay. Why? She goes, take out a piece of paper. She said, I want you to list 5 things that went right today. Just 5. 5 things that you liked, that went right, that you're grateful for, that you're thankful for. 5 things, just 5. Now, tomorrow, I want you to wake up. I want you to look at your 5 things. And I want you to add 2 more things to the list. And I have done that. When I get into my pity parties, you guys, I'm human. Just because I know better doesn't mean that I don't go into the pity parties. The good news is I just don't stay there very long, right? And so when I get into those boo-hooey moments like poor Amy, I sit there and I list the things that bring me joy, the things that I'm thankful for. And I review that list and I add to that list. And what it does is science has proven there is a filtration system in our brain called a reticular activating system. And that system, it filters out, our brains can't take in all the stimulus that we see in a day. So it filters out the things that it doesn't think that we need to see and lets in the things that we do. And so when you start programming your brain to go out and find the things that you're thankful for, it goes on a scavenger hunt and it throughout the day finds all these incredible things that you could be grateful for, that brought a gentle smile to your face, that made you just giggle. It can be something incredibly small. It can be a child licking an ice cream cone that's dripping all over their hands, right? It just brings a smile to your face and it makes you, warm inside. You remember either your kids or your grandkids or maybe you licking an ice cream, and doing that activates that program in our brains to go out and find more of them.
Mhm.
And doing that makes us focus our attention. Doesn't mean the bad stuff's not there. We're just not focusing so much time and attention on it. That's
Right.
all.
Right. Well, so I love that bliss list. That is a wonderful idea. I know one of the things that's been happening over this past year with my friend Brenda and I, almost every single night, we'll text one another, and either I'll ask her first or she'll ask me, what are your wins, your win or your wins for today? And I have to be completely honest. There are, excuse me, there are some days where I am reviewing my day, and I'm like almost taking my hands and clawing my brain to try to think of what would I consider a win for the day. And it really, it shouldn't be that difficult, because I'm alive. That right there, that's a win. But I do find, okay, yes, remember blah blah blah, whatever it is, and then I'll text it to her. This was my win or wins for the day. And it really does help me when I go to sleep that night to know, yes, I had a win for the day. I accomplished something. I'm proud of that. Whatever it is, I just go to sleep with a much better intention.
Well, and science has actually shown that I used to, and I hope your viewers see I'm raising my hand. I used to go to sleep rehashing all the things that went wrong for that day,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
didn't respond really well to my kids, or I lashed out at my husband, or I was off of, doing so well with my eating plan and I went off, or I didn't get in that exercise, or whatever. I meant to do this and I didn't get to it and I ran out of time, and I would go down the litany of
We
all
beat
the
ourselves
things
up.
yeah. And does that set you up for a really good positive next day? Absolutely not. And so science has actually shown that as you're drifting off to sleep, the things that you're thinking about actually program in your brain and get it started for the next day. So knowing that that's how your mind works, let's get it to work for us, right? And program it on all the things that went right. And like you, some days are rough. Some days are really, really rough. But on those days, I think of my grandpa. And my grandpa said that every day that he wakes up on this side of the grass, and I'm pointing up for those of you who don't see but can only hear I'm pointing up, on this side of the grass is a really good day. And so every day that we wake up, not the fact that we woke up late, not that we hit the snooze alarm 500 times, not the fact that we ran out with, stains on our shirt, the fact that we woke up today is something that went right. And even if you have to fall back on that, and it's funny when I do that, I don't know about you, but when I do that, all of a sudden it opens the floodgates to see a lot of other little things
Oh,
that
yes.
I did right, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Because that's usually what I'll end up finding is once I recall that certain thing, it's like, oh yeah, and then this happened, and then I've got like two or three things that I'm writing about of what my wins were for that day. And kind of along the same lines of what you just said about your grandpa, my mom and I were just reminiscing just a couple of weeks ago that my grandfather, after every single meal he had, no matter where we were, he always said, that was the best meal I ever had. And that really summed up when I think about my grandfather's dash. And I look at his life, he was always whistling. That was the best meal I ever had. All of these things. He was not a rich man monetarily, but oh my goodness, to talk to him and hear his stories and everything about his life. Oh my gosh, all of that was priceless. And so it's like, that's the kind of dash I want to have people, when they see my dash, those are the things that I want them to think about. Oh my God, even though Patty, she retired at 55, she went on and she became a life cycle celebrant. And then she started at 60 years old, she started a business. And then at 62, she started a podcast. Oh my gosh. And then she went and she did a TEDx talk. Oh, that's the stuff. That's the stuff right there. Is it easy to do those things? No, but it's all a part of the learning, and that's what keeps us going. And I
Yeah,
never want to feel like I know it all. want to keep learning. I want to keep growing. I want to keep helping. I have more to offer now than I've ever had my whole entire life.
Yeah, because you have all of your life experiences to offer.
Yes.
Right. So
Yes.
with each
And
passing
we all
year,
do. That's what
we
we
all
have to
do.
remember.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
It's a great
Exactly.
thing. So Amy, when did you kind of learn that you had a passion for not only wanting to help you and your family in your situation that you found yourself in, but you've now gotten it to be where you're now helping others. So has that been a passion that you've always had, or is that something that just came out of all of these challenges that you experienced?
Well, life is just too short, Patty,
Mm-hmm.
for us to be struggling so much and to struggle in solitude.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as I overcome each of my obstacles, each of my opportunities, instead of looking at them as obstacles, I look at them as stepping stones and opportunities to learn and grow.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of problems, which God knows we have them, I look at them as possibilities to challenge myself to think outside the box, to push myself further than I've ever pushed. And like you, I've done a lot of things. I created a product for a women's restroom that was present in hotels and restaurants and colleges, and I didn't know the first thing about creating a product. I didn't know about packaging. I didn't know about mills and thickness. I didn't know about biodegradability. I didn't know about any of that. And I didn't know when I did I also wrote, produced, hosted, and directed a TV show, a special for a local station here on stretching your dollar. I hadn't a clue how to do any of that. I wasn't trained to do that. I figured it out as I went. I asked people. Goodness gracious, I would say, oh, what's a mill? Yeah, is it a million? Is it one tenth of a, like, what? How do you measure that? Is there a ruler? And they would laugh and they would say, no, it's the thickness of the plastic, and the more mills, the thicker it is, makes it harder, and you can't. But I learned. I asked questions.
Right. Yes.
Right. I was
Yes.
curious. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of, nowadays, I find that there's more and more people, especially the older we get, that as much as we feel that society has ageism and certain things are expected or discouraged depending on the age, I feel like that has really been instilled in a lot of the individuals, because I
Mm-hmm.
hear people all the time saying, I'm fill in the blank. I'm 65. I couldn't be a beauty queen.
Why
Really?
not?
Why not? I have a
Mhm.
friend of mine who just became Mrs. Long Beach. Mrs. Long Beach, right?
Yes.
Is she as skinny as a stick? No. She's beautiful. She is absolutely beautiful. Is she obese? No, she's normal. Is she 6'2"? No, she's like 5'5",
Mm-hmm.
right? So she wasn't that traditional, what you think of as a model, really tall, really thin, really skinny. No, she's beautiful though. And
Mm-hmm.
so we know there's a woman in her 70s who was like the number one bodybuilder in her
Mm-hmm.
70s.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, the Colonel
The
Sanders.
Colonel.
How old was he when he decided to peddle his recipe for fried chicken? So we get stuck in that mindset that says I can't, or I shouldn't, or I'm too old, or I'm too fat, or I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or I'm too this, or I'm too BS.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is what happened when I started going through menopause and empty nest, is that I realized that there were so many things that I would tell myself that just frankly weren't true.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't true.
You
My
know,
husband, good.
a really inspiring story that just came out on Netflix is Naiad, about Diana Naiad, and swimming from Cuba to the Keys. And It is, if you want to talk about determination and ageism and all of that sort of thing, you want to be inspired to see what you are really truly capable of. I highly encourage you, especially you women out there listening or watching on YouTube, watch Naiad, because it is remarkable and it is a true story. It's amazing what she accomplished at her age that she accomplished, and nobody believed in her except for her. And because of that belief she had in herself, she did not let it stop her from being the only person in her 60s. I think she was 65, 64, 65 when she finally accomplished it. And she had tried it like 3 or 4 other times when she was younger.
Yep. Yep. I told people, I just did a post on this in social recently, that other people don't need to understand your dreams. They're not meant for them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
if you have a dream of doing whatever it is, do it. So
Yes.
back to your question on, helping others, I don't want anybody to suffer in silence, right? I don't want them to have their pity party all by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit next to you and have your pity party, and then I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to dust you off, and we're going to talk about the first one little baby incy little step that you can take to get wherever you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. I hear all the time, oh, I'm too young to start a business. Baloney, my kids were in elementary school when I had them start a business.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that we tell ourselves create our realities. And so start to be aware of the things that you're telling yourself, because that's the reality that you're creating. And if you don't like your reality, check back and see what were you telling yourself that created that, and switch it and see how quickly your life changes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you've already kind of answered the next thing I was going to ask you, but I know one of the things that, how I call it is, I don't let other people yuck my wows. And so my question was going to be for you, and I mean, I'm going to ask it again. When people have attempted to yuck your wow, how do you respond to them?
That's what I do. I just laugh. I laugh. I'm like, okay. Because you know what really fuels my fire is when someone tells me I can't do something. Because I'm going to figure out a way to do it. When I did that TV show years ago on Stretching Your Dollar, I didn't have a dollar to stretch. I didn't have a dollar to stretch. I pitched my idea to probably 5 or 6 producers, thinking, I looked them up on the internet, you guys. It's not that I knew them personally. And I sent them a message or an email or whatever. I'm sure that it probably went in their spam, or they were like, who's this crazy person? And they just dumped it and they didn't do anything. And I was like, there has got to be a way to get out there for the people that are struggling, a way to live their life for less by stretching their dollar. And so I ended up, I don't even know how, but I found out that the local access station allowed people to come in and get certified to use their equipment and check out their equipment. And then everybody volunteers for everybody else's projects. So it's all volunteer based. Wow. And then I was like, okay, well, I've got the camera, right? And I've got all these volunteers, and I've got I've got somebody out. They have equipment there, and I had somebody come in and help me edit. And then but I needed somehow to store it, like a hard drive, right? You can't store it on the station's hard drive. So I went to the hairdresser that I went to, and I was like, look, if I give you a mention or record part of my episode at your location, do you think that you could give me $500? Wrote me a check. He didn't say, how many of these have you done before? How far is it going? He didn't ask me. He wrote me a check. Wow. And I went to a caterer, and a local area, and I said, hey, I've got all these volunteers volunteering to create this this episode to help people learn how to stretch their dollar. I really feel like they need to eat or they're going to fall over. If I gave you a mention on my show, platters of food. Now, did I know how to do that? Did I know negotiation 101 or no? I just was thinking, how can I get some of these things? And in the end, I put on a kick butt. If you ever want to see it, it's on my YouTube channel, the actual episode. But I put together ways to stretch your dollar with eating out and haircuts. And I did it and it cost me absolutely nothing.
Wow.
Monetarily, just in time. And so many people are like, oh, you have an idea, but you don't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it, you guys. I didn't know the first step. Didn't know the first step. So if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse.
Oh, yes. Wow. Yes, most definitely. Aha moment. Yes.
Yes.
Yep, very good. So what would you say, Amy, you are passionate about personally and professionally right now?
Oh my gosh. Personally. Okay, this is going to be really personal. This is Amy coming clean. I struggle. My word for the year, Patty, was balance, because my family says I have no balance, that I invest all of my time, energy, and effort into a passion project. So my passion project right now is educating people, helping people who are stuck and unhappy to shift their mindset so that they can not just thrive in their lives, and not just survive their lives, but thrive in them. Right. And there's another passion of mine that I've kind of put on the sideline. We've mentioned a little bit about today, and that is helping women and the men who love them to master maneuvering menopause and empty nest in a way that it doesn't take them a decade like it does me. Everything seems to take me a decade. So I want to shorten the period in which people have to suffer. So I did stretching your dollar for a while. I taught parents how to raise money savvy kids for a while. I help people shift their mindset, and will continue to do that, because I think that is the cornerstone of living the most fulfilling life ever. And I'm getting ready to but expand and incorporate a conversation that I was very uncomfortable having, but felt like really needed to be had. And so I am in the throes of creating a course to help people do that, and will be released in 24. And I am, as we speak, expecting my first copy of my life-changing planner, where people will be able to change their lives in 90 days. That is getting released at the end of this month.
Nice.
And so there's all sorts of things, everything from vision board to my flip the script tool, to limiting beliefs, to daily and weekly planner, to oh my gosh, it's just jam-packed with all sorts of tools and organizing and focus materials to help people get to where they want to be in life.
Wow.
That comes out in the end of November, this November.
Fabulous. That's cool. So what would you say is your purpose personally and professionally now?
Okay, so this one is one that I'm saying enough that I'm hoping that I will eventually believe. Okay, because I think that we talked a lot about society and how we're raised and the things that we have come to believe, because either society or our parents or stories that have been passed down. And it is taking a lot of effort for me to unlearn some of the things that have been taught to me. And one of those things is on purpose. What is your purpose? Because I think that is really hard, especially when you're going through empty nest, because you start feeling like you have no purpose. because your purpose was to raise children. You've raised them. Now what? And it's at a time where you're getting closer to retirement. And so it's like, what am I going to do with my life? What is my purpose? And I hear this all the time. What is my purpose? And so I'm going to share something that I am working to reprogram. And so my purpose is to be the best version of me, to be a little bit better every day. And whatever that looks like in whatever area. So instead of saying my purpose is to educate women or to help women, that's a passion. That is an absolute passion and a mission. But my purpose on this planet is to just simply be.
That is very cool. That's very cool. So going right along with that, what would you say is the best advice anyone ever gave you?
Goodness gracious. Oh, you're really putting me on the spot here. Best advice. Oh, give me a minute. Come back to me. Give me a second to think of that. That's something, by the way, Patty, that I don't think enough people realize happens in menopause, is that our ability to process slows down. So even for so many women that I know, it's not that you don't have an opinion, or sometimes you just can't find it in there. You got to go through the Rolodex a little bit slower. So give me a moment to do that. And please fire away another question.
What would you say is your superpower?
Ooh. I would say, let me go back. I'm going to rephrase this question if I can. What would other people say is my superpower? I think other people would say that my superpower is the fact that people feel very comfortable with me, and therefore share a lot of struggles that they wouldn't share with others. That I'm a safe space for many people to share things that are really bothering them. And I think that is really the superpower people think when they think of me. I would say that my superpower is persistent perseverance with a little bit of peppiness.
I love it.
So I'm somebody who doesn't give up easily. I go down swinging. Yeah, I would say that that's what it would be.
Excellent. So how would you say that you're living? Most people would say living your best life. For me, it's living your best dash. So how would you say that you're living your best dash?
Well, I stopped saying no. Stop saying no. And I'll give you an example. I recently found out that my cortisol levels are dangerously high consistently throughout the day. And I have done all sorts of things to lower them, from deep breathing, meditation, going for a walk in nature, taking saunas, doing massages, and the cortisol level is still there. And that's probably because I am passionate about the things that I'm doing, and I care about the people that I help. And so there's a lot of energy that goes into it. And so later in life, after being a mom for so long, it's still challenging to this day to spend any kind of money on me. So I have decided to do a retreat for 7 days, and I'm going to Costa Rica by myself, without my husband, without a friend, without anybody. I'm going to go to Costa Rica. I'm going to share a room with 2 other women I have never met. I am going to learn how to surf. I am going to hike and do waterfalls, and living my best dash is living with no regrets. And the only way to live with no regrets is to say yes to the things that you really want to do. My husband, a couple years ago, I said I go through this weird funk in January and February because I journal, and every January and February, it's not a depression, it's just like a funk. And he's like, well, let's go to Florida and let's see if that helps. And I was like, no, we don't have to do that. We have a mortgage. We don't have to pay more money to live somewhere else for 8 weeks or whatever. And he goes, we'll take the dog. You will take your computer. We'll just see if the sunshine and the flowers and the different scenery helps. And it was a game changer. But it wasn't so much a game changer of actually doing it, but all the baby steps to get there, right? The game changer was what place are we going to get? How are we going to get there? What was the adventure of getting there, right? Instead of looking at it as, oh, what a headache, this happened, our car broke down. Well, on our way back last year, our car broke down. And you guys, we've owned this car for 5 years and never had a single problem with it. And it literally just stopped. And many people would be like, that's a piece of junk, blah, 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 right? And get really angry. And, we didn't end up staying at the hotel that we had booked. We had to give up that room because we were broken down, and we had to get towed to a place that was over an hour away because that was the only service station that would service this car. And many people would sit there and think of all the things that went wrong that day.
Right.
But I laugh. I had the best time. We can't change that the car broke down, you guys. We absolutely cannot change that. But we had the nicest police officer stop. We had a really great tow truck driver that took us and our dog in his cab over an hour away, to drop the car off. We got a loaner car. I mean, everybody was so kind. Everything, we laugh about it now. They stopped at a gas station and got snacks, and the driver was like, you want any snacks? It's going to be a while. And we joked and we had fun and we laughed about it. And that's what it is about for me in creating your dash. It's not about the fact that I'm going to Costa Rica for a week. Yeah, that's great. But it's all the things leading up to it. How am I going to get there? All the people I'm going to meet along the way, all the little touches that I'm going to experience along the way. That is really the essence of living your best dash.
Amen. Yes, it is. Well, Amy, are there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience?
If nobody has told you today, let me be the one to tell you that you are enough and you are awesome. And you can do anything that you put your mind to.
That's exactly right. Very good. Can you tell our audience, Amy, because I know there's going to be plenty of people that are going to want to connect with you and talk with you. So how can they go about connecting with you?
I'm on every platform, either under Amy Fuentes or the Amy Fuentes, because there's only one of me. It's kind of like Tigger, my favorite character. He's, a wonderful thing. His top's made out of rubber. His bottom's made out of spring. I'm the Amy Fuentes. So there's just one of me. But unfortunately, on certain platforms, there was another Amy Fuentes with that name. So there's the Amy Fuentes on a lot of platforms. I'm even on TikTok now, you guys.
Ooh.
So I'm on all of those. You can always look up my website, which is the Amy Fuentes, or the Amy Fuentes, THE, not the like VWXYZ, the THE, amyfuentes.com. And I do all sorts of speaking events and workshops and retreats and things along those lines. I love connecting with people. I love hearing how people are doing and taking the little things that I put out in the world and how they're impacting them in profound ways. And so please connect with me and share how you're doing and how this has helped you. I would really love to hear that.
And know, if you're new to the podcast, that if you look at the description, whether you're watching on YouTube or one of the 10 podcast platforms, in the description is the direct links that Amy just talked about. So you just go to that description, click on it, and you're going to be able to get in touch with her immediately. Amy, this has been such a wonderful time spending with you. And I know that this is going to be just the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I can feel it.
Yes, absolutely. This won't be the last.
So thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate it so much, Amy. Thank you.
Have a great day.
And for all of you out there listening, remember to subscribe and follow this podcast. And hey, while you're at it, go ahead and invite your family and friends to subscribe as well. Don't forget to check out my website at www.pathwayswithpatty.org and sign up for a Zoom chat with me, or if you'd like to be a guest possibly on the podcast, you can get a discovery call and talk with me as well. You can also get my Pathway to a New Beginning roadmap while you're there. So until we meet again, continue to live your best dash and know that life's an adventure, and I want you to enjoy the journey because your life matters. Thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you all.